After swimming through the coral and climbing the cliffside by the waterfall, the Kongs have made it to the source of the cove's water. There's a suspicious amount of dynamite up here. This is part 15 of Overthinking Donkey Kong Country 3. This level's a little bittersweet for me. For one thing, it's the final Boardwalk level. The Boardwalk isn't the coolest level theme or anything, but it is a good one, and more importantly, it was our first look at Donkey Kong Country 3. You can't not think about the beginning of the game when you revisit the tile set here. It's also the last appearance of Cobble, who was criminally underutilized in this game. Compare him to Critter and Klomp, the Cobble equivalents of DKC and DKC2, and it's not hard to see what I mean. Cobble only appears in the Boardwalk levels, and there are only 3 of those. As for the Boardwalk's final appearance being so early in the game, I guess the jungle theme of DKC and the ship's decks of DKC2 weren't any different. Both of them had their last appearance towards the back half of their respective games' third worlds, so it is what it is. I love the color palette here, especially coming off the pinks, blues, and greens of the previous level. There's a sense of continuity that's stronger here than in most other areas of the game, and I really appreciate that. As for the level itself, it's pretty good. Not amazing, and certainly not the send-off to the first level theme that Orangutan Gang and Rattle Battle were, but it's a lot of fun. Honestly, I think my opinion's a bit tainted here, as I remember dying a bunch when playing through the Game Boy Advance port, just white-knuckling into Pacifica so I can try the new levels. Some of the deaths were bullshit, most of the deaths were due to the controls feeling a bit sticky, I don't know how else to word it, and some of the deaths were due to my own incompetence, and I've got to own that. Combine all of it with Kitty's revised tantrum sound effect, and you can understand where I'm coming from. The main obstacle here are the titular Klasps. They're knockers that wear TNT barrels and swing from the ropes. They're kinda sorta this game's Kaboom, and there's stuff in the game's code that show them behaving more like knockers, running around and whatever. They were called crackers, don't ask me why, I don't know, and eventually returned in the aforementioned Pacifica world. Funnily enough, in the return to the Boardwalk level, Stormy Seas, getting off track again. So yeah, this level's fairly long, and you're gonna spend most of it climbing across the ropes and avoiding the Klasps. Nibbler follows you for most, if not all of the level, ready to catch you if you drop, so you're stuck to traversing the level on the ropes. If you're not playing on Game Boy Advance, you can get some real momentum going here, and that's something I really appreciate about Kreeping Klasps. Recoil returns here too. Honestly, I think that's about all I've got to say. I don't think there's any story to Kreeping Klasps, but the Klasps themselves could hint at a bit more going on. They're not an enemy we see a lot through the game, and looking at the levels we'll see them in after this one, you could say there's a pattern. Yes, they all feature ropes. I mean, Clasp can't really exist without them, so that's a no-brainer. But also, you could make the argument that Clasp is only ever seen in areas that Kremlings might want to use a little dynamite. Just a cheeky little bit of dynamite. It's a bit of a stretch with the cliffs, as the explosions could cause a rock slide or whatever, but at the same time, it makes sense that the Kremlings would want to carve easier paths up and through the mountains. As for Kreeping Klasps, well, maybe they were planning to destroy the cove entirely. Maybe they found the boss of this world, who we'll talk about when his time comes, and wanted to free him from his weird rock prison. Or maybe they just wanted to go fishing. Part 15 done, and we're halfway through the DKC3 videos of this year's Donkey Kong December. Generally speaking, I'm really happy with how this series has turned out. Really happy being relative to how I usually feel about my videos. I can't explain why, I just think this series is possibly my strongest to date. Still, there's another 45 videos to go, 45 chances to change that. Stick around for more stuff and things. Compare him to Compare